Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to another live Engadget live stream for the Engadget podcast. I'm senior editor Devendra Hardware. Today I'm joined with our reviews editor Sherlyn Lowe. Hello, Sherlyn.
Hello, hello.
And our podcast producer Ben Ellman. Hey Ben.
Hello. Always nice to
Hello.
be here.
Yes, welcome back everybody. We've had a week off. I know some people have been traveling. I know Sherlyn has been flying back and forth. Are you okay?
Yep. I
Yeah.
mean, it is technically 7 a.m. in my brain, but it's whatever. I'll be, it was good. Thanksgiving travel, not my favorite thing, but I did it and I survived.
Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning to everybody who's in the chat this morning. Thank you all for joining us again after our time off. I see Chiming Chung, I see Wilso and Jonathan Anderson. Good morning, everybody.
Oh, yay.
We are just settling in today. I
hope everyone had a good holiday. I had a lot of great food. What did you do anything fun for Thanksgiving, Devendra?
No, just food with family. But it was nice to at least have family in the house because people are vaccinated and staying somewhat safe. So compared to last year, where last year we made food and we drove it around and just dropped it off at my parents' house and my brother's house, and you couldn't actually have in-person stuff. So it is an upgrade, even though things still feel pretty rough. Yeah, but it's good to be back here. It's good to have our little Thursday get together. How are you doing, Ben?
It's almost like the Omicron variant waited until it was just about Thanksgiving time to reveal itself, make people a little bit nervous about seeing each other again.
Of course. We cannot leave any of those. Yeah.
It's a very bad uncertain time. I remember being at Thanksgiving dinner and I was on our news shift, and then, being on feeds, I saw that thing pop up. I was like, well, that's something to talk about at the Thanksgiving dinner table.
No.
Informed everyone, and everyone promptly never talked to me again that night. It was great.
Yeah. It's I mean, how is that different than normal, Sherlyn? So I don't know.
This is true. I mean, I enjoy when people don't want to talk to me. So this is great. That was great. This is not, now I know. Every time I don't want people to talk to me anymore, I would just bring up a new variant.
A new thing. I mean, just bring up like how the world is moving towards impending doom. Like there's so many things to choose from, everybody, but we're going to be a little more hopeful today. And I don't know.
Yeah, no shortage.
We'll talk about Twitter. We'll talk about Twitter and Twitter without Jack Dorsey. We've got some news. Sherlyn, I want to dive into the new Snapdragon chip news because there are a whole bunch of chips too. So I don't have all of them. I'm going to give you some time to line up all those different ones because there's several for PCs this time, and I don't know if they're going to even do it. But anyway, we are going to get into all this stuff. Hello, Simon B., who woke up just in time. Good night to Shashank Singh. Our timelines are all over the place. It's global over here. Okay.
That Gabra is here. Excuse me. All right, I guess we're going to start, right?
I think we're good to go. Chat room, load up your questions if you've got thoughts about Twitter or what's happening with Twitter. I also know a lot of this stuff is like soap opera stuff that many people don't care about, but tech nerds, tech industry nerds are always into the CEO transitions and whatnot. So we will dive into that, and then we'll move on to other news. Okay, you guys good?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go in 3, 2, 1. What's up, Internet, and welcome back to the Engadget podcast. I'm senior editor Devendra Hardware.
I'm reviews editor Sherlyn Lowe.
This week, we are back from Thanksgiving. We are getting ready for Christmas and CES. And we'll be talking about Twitter, specifically Jack Dorsey leaving Twitter, surprisingly, at the beginning of this week. We'll talk about what all of that means, and also Sherlyn is going to be diving into the latest chips from... Sherlyn's also going to be diving into the latest chips from Qualcomm. Do that again, because I'm trying to say Snapdragon.
Yeah.
Also, Sherlyn is going to be diving into the latest chips from Qualcomm. We've got a whole bunch of Snapdragons coming to phones and computers and whatnot. So there's a lot of stuff to dive into this week. As always, if you're enjoying the show, please be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcatcher of choice. Leave us a review on iTunes. That's the most helpful thing in the world. You can also email us at podcast@engadget.com. So this week began with some surprising news. There was speculation, I think, from CNBC first that, hey, Jack Dorsey, at Jack himself, the co-founder and current CEO of Twitter, or CEO as of Monday, would be stepping down. And there was a lot of hubbub around that. And I think within a few hours, it was confirmed. It was confirmed that by Dorsey himself too, because he basically just tweeted his resignation notice. Yeah. The tweet was
Mm-hmm. I hate to say this, but someone's gonna NFT that. So go ahead.
I mean, it's going to be him because he also NFT'd the very first tweet, right? I think that was him.
Yep.
But he tweeted, not sure anyone has heard, but I resigned from Twitter. And he left basically a screenshot of his Gmail of his resignation letter where he announced that, he's leaving the company. Parag Agrawal, Twitter's CTO, is becoming the new CEO. And what else? I believe he's planning to leave the board too. So he's going to fully separate himself from the company. And here's where it gets really interesting. He says at the end, I want you all to know that this was my decision and I own it. It was a tough one for me, of course. I love this service and company and all of you so much. I'm really sad, yet really happy. I think the question is, was this really his decision? We don't know. There was a great article out of the Washington Post yesterday that talked to some Twitter people on background by folks I really like, Will Ormus and Elizabeth Dwoskin. Mm-hmm. The article is called Twitter's New CEOs Bringing an Engineering Background to a Politics Fight. And if you want to get some nice background info about like what's happening, is worth checking out. But they talked to Twitter people, and a lot of folks at Twitter were basically happy about this news. Like among the people who could be the new CEO, Parag seems like somebody at the company that everybody generally likes. He's carrying the philosophy of Twitter that Jack Dorsey kind of was expounding. But the downsides is he's an engineering guy, right? He was the CTO. He's not really a policy guy. He's not really he hasn't had any experience really working on the politics side of things, but that's also true of most CEOs. I think there's questions about like, what does this mean for Twitter in the future? What does it mean for the innovation of Twitter and everything? So Sherlyn, when you heard this news, what was your first thought? Because I know you're also a big Twitter user like me.
Yeah, I mean, I one of the things I was reminded of when I read our article on the issue is that like, oh, this actually isn't Jack Dorsey's first time so-called stepping away from Twitter. I remember like having to actually write up when he rejoined Twitter. But this does sound like a bigger separation, right? The whole thing of him leaving the board as well. I think that part might be new. And then I hadn't heard about the appointment of Parag or those old tweets that surfaced, but it is kind of beautifully ironic, right? Like, your tweets could prevent you from taking over Twitter. I don't know. I was in holiday mood and
it never quit. It was never the point where it would prevent him from getting the job, but
right.
Yes, almost immediately, like Right Wing News was like, they pulled up this tweet from October 26, 2010, right. Where Parag quoted, and his Twitter account is at Paraga. He quoted a Daily Show segment apparently saying, if they're not going to make a distinction between Muslims and extremists, then why should I distinguish between white people and racists? And that was a quote from the show. And it's also a quote that, I think people would agree with in context of what's happening there. But of course, you pull it out of context and he's just like, this guy's a racist of some kind. A lot of right wingers were quick to make that. That seems to have blown over because people understood the actual context. But it's an interesting thing to see him even post, even back in 2010, right? Because it's like, I can't imagine Jack Dorsey, the guy who kind of leans more on the libertarian bent, and I don't think has really come down on any real social justice issues very strongly, would tweet something like that. You know, maybe he would give it a like, but I don't think he would actually post it. So to have,
like, even his like would be like unearthed and like, Jack Dorsey, you like this tweet? You know, like conspiracy Twitter and conspiracy Instagram can get very crazy about these things.
And
but I also thought it was maybe. Sorry. I think there's some delay on my end, but maybe this will make someone like Parag think harder about the way their own product can be used to bite them back in the ass, right? Like this is something that they're experiencing firsthand. Now I don't know if it's for the first time that Parag's old tweets have come out and therefore he's been attacked because of them, but now they're going through some of what some other people on their platform have had to go through, so maybe they'll think twice about something.
That's the main thing. And why is this important? Why are we talking about this? I think for a lot of people, Jack Dorsey is kind of the soul of Twitter. Like he always represented this kind of like unique punk view of startupdom. Like he was all the stories about how he started Twitter, like Twitter, it was like Odeo. It was like a podcast company before that, and like he brought this idea to Odeo, and and he was basically just like a young coder who was not really tied to any company, like just a young kid trying to make his life in San Francisco, and this thing kind of came about. He was pushed out of Twitter back in 2008, so not long after the company launched, and he returned in 2015, and in between that he founded Square, don't forget, which is the company that has kind of taken over the world quietly in stores, because they have basically when Square started, the whole idea is they had this little attachment that plugged into the headphone jack on your phone, the beautiful 3.5mm audio jack, plugged into that and turned any phone into a card swipe reader. Pre-Square, that stuff was really hard. And going into a store, like there was that point in the late 2000s where it's like, do you take cards? You kind of look at the register. And
I remember asking that question.
Yeah. And you look at the register and it's like, okay, how old is this? Do they have a point of sale system that takes credit cards? It was really hard to tell. Square made it so that people could do this stuff. Like people at flea markets could just let you swipe and buy something, and then transition to the point where I was actually covering a bunch of this weirdly. They transitioned to the point where they could actually make terminals that could, that could be on the cashier table, and you could swipe your card and they'll spin the screen around and you can type in whatever you want.
Those are great.
Those are great. They were kind of one of the pioneers of that too. And while doing Square, he kind of came back to Twitter and was co-CEOing both companies, which not always the best thing, right? If you're it's one thing, it's hard enough to be a leader of a major company. It's hard to even be to straddle both. And I think there's a lot of criticism of, was he doing that appropriately? Like, was he giving Twitter enough time? Any thoughts on that, Sherlyn? Because I know you're a big Twitter user and you followed social media for a while too.
So that thing that you said, and I think the potential implications of this, right, is what kind of a leader is Parag going to be? Because Jack Dorsey, has so far managed to stay resistant, managed to be like not rock the boat too much. Now, I do think that co-CEOing those two big companies probably would have stretched him pretty thin, and probably has, right? Like imagine during the pandemic, the people's reliance on Twitter was huge, but people's reliance on Square, especially small businesses, probably grew too. So I mean, that's one thing where like interesting choice that he made to pick Square, I guess, and his other interests over Twitter. But
well, that wasn't a choice. They pushed him out earlier on too. Like he wanted to stay on Twitter.
Yes, he said he did say that this is his own decision, right?
Well, I'm talking 2008. I'm talking 2008. Oh. They kicked him out. That was it. That was to the floor.
That was not a choice for sure. That was just like, I guess they thought Twitter was losing relevancy or something. I don't know what was going on there. But I do think that after he came back, Twitter did make some mistakes, yes, but it's also like compared to Facebook, been able to make some quick changes in response to all the misinformation going around. Twitter was faster to adopt things like labeling misinformation, telling you to read an article before you. So like, I don't know how much of that was Dorsey. But I do think that he has a style that seems a bit more independent, a bit more, middle ground than some of the other social networks we've been like covering in the past years.
He does seem like Twitter under Dorsey seemed less conservative, certainly, than Facebook, right? Because they put up those article alerts. Everybody criticized Twitter for not doing enough to ban Nazis and hate speech and things like that. And that is legitimate criticism for them and for every other social media company. But I do give Twitter credit for pushing faster. Like they were one of the first people to start like basically blocking accounts or like temporarily suspending accounts if they started detecting some sorts of hate speech. They did something about Trump's tweets
Right.
before
They kicked him
Facebook could even
off.
touch it. Well, they started blocking tweets. Basically, they started
Right.
hiding tweets and saying this
Right.
one goes against our policies, and
Right.
then they ended up basically kicking him off the platform entirely. Whereas Facebook only was like, this is a suspension. This is a suspension of an indeterminate time. So
Right.
Twitter was at
Exactly.
least, a little more impactful in terms of what they were doing. It is, I've talked about this before, it is my favorite social media outlet because to me, Twitter embodies like everything I've ever wanted from communicating on the internet, and this goes back
Mm.
to being in AOL chat rooms in the 90s, where it's like, hey, cool people on the other side of the planet I get to meet, I get to talk to. Twitter is this sort of like unifying force that lets me keep this conversation going no matter where I
Right.
am, for better or worse. Like I lose sleep because of Twitter, and maybe I shouldn't as much, but I also lost sleep to AOL chat rooms about anime when I was a teenager. So kind of the same deal, just as a global service. I don't. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts, Rowland? Like, what do you want Twitter to be? Are you satisfied with what Twitter is as a company? Do you think having a new CEO in charge will help them get there, or hurt Twitter? Like when it comes to innovating.
Yeah, so I will say, I was in San Francisco
Mm-hmm.
for a little bit, which is like you would think all the tech people are,
Yeah. Yeah.
all up on Twitter. But no, my cousins, two of whom I was with three of whom I was with this weekend. Only one of them's on Twitter, and he's a lurker. He doesn't like post much.
Mm-hmm.
He just maybe catches up on news. The other two, one of them has, is a recent transplant to America, so he's in Singapore, and like in Singapore, nobody really uses Twitter. Only the most plugged in of like media and tech people are in Twitter in Singapore, are on Twitter. And then the other cousin just isn't on social media. So like let's exclude him from this conversation for a little bit, right? I do think that like some people in our live stream chat, like Ruin Dig, are pointing out that it does seem like Twitter's influence is mostly in the US, and even then within certain circles like
Mm-hmm.
tech, fintech, media,
Yeah.
and then
It's a
maybe
small
business.
influence, but I think maybe an
Yeah.
impactful influence because they influence the people who end up being influencers. So there's that sort of thing too.
There
Yeah. Yeah.
there is something about like your growing your Twitter following and that sort of thing, but I think I like Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I do. It does feel like I'm not reaching every single person in the world, right? With Twitter sometimes, where like more people check out Instagram than people do Twitter. And then if you're an influencer, let's say, what numbers are you looking at prioritizing, right, for your followings, that sort of thing? And not to like put it in that context too much, but I feel like that's a way for people to see the
Mm-hmm.
value of Twitter when reaching a more mass or mainstream
Mm-hmm.
audience, right? Like I'm sorry to say this, but Meta, I've already made the switch. I no longer say Facebook.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Meta has its grips all over the world. It just like has the huger, I believe, user base.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, much as I like Twitter right now, my thoughts on Twitter are that like it's at a crossroads identity wise, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
are you going to double down and become this niche thing that only admittedly big parts of the population use, or are you going to try to become even more mainstream, and how are they going to do that? So
Mm-hmm.
it's an
Absolutely.
interesting time for Twitter.
Interesting time. One thing I will point out, I believe Parag, people said that he was responsible for Twitter Spaces, which is their like live audio chat format, which is basically Clubhouse but on Twitter. And I do think that's been pretty successful. Like I keep seeing Spaces happening. I keep seeing influential people like Kara Switcher doing Spaces, and basically it's a thing where you could talk. It's like a live podcast. You can listen to somebody talk or bloviate or whatever. You could sit and listen to be in the audience, and you can ask questions. And sometimes it could pull you in to do a chat too. It is a trend that Clubhouse kind of started, but also nobody's talking about Clubhouse anymore. Like talk about a niche service. Twitter, Twitter basically being the platform for media influencers, having a function like that, I think was really smart. It's been really successful for them. So maybe that's a sign that Parag and other people at Twitter are still looking at different ways of doing things. They recently launched Twitter Blue, which we talked about, which is you pay a small fee and you get some new features, like delayed tweets so that you can edit them before they're officially posted. I did Twitter Blue on the very first day, and I have to say I'm a fan. I really enjoy it because it's I don't mind spending a couple bucks a month for a service I'm on often, to have that safety net of catching a tweet before I need to fix some to fix some typos. But also you get ad-free article views.
Mm-hmm.
I wish they would add more features, but I think for the way I use Twitter, also the thread view is really nice.
Mm-hmm.
If you
Mm-hmm.
find, I'm somebody who keeps running into like scientists and researchers who have these dozen long tweet threads. You hit a button with your feed
Right.
if you have Twitter Blue, and then all of a sudden it's like a nice block of text.
Right.
Yeah, that stuff has been worth it to me. Are your feelings about Twitter Blue any different than when we last talked, Sherlyn?
I still haven't signed up for it, so not much different. I do think Spaces and Twitter Blue are, recent developments that maybe Dorsey, I don't
Hmm.
know how much involved he was, but if you're saying Parag was more involved in Spaces,
Yeah.
it's one of those things that, like you said, Clubhouse is pretty dead right now. And Garrison R in our live chat has also commented that Discord killed Clubhouse, which is a good point. Like everyone copying
Hmm.
what Clubhouse does kind of
Well,
made Clubhouse not great.
and different audiences too. Like Discord is fundamentally the geeky place where you
Gaming,
hang out,
yeah.
and yeah, for gamers. And I don't know if Discord killed Clubhouse. I think it's more, hey, what Clubhouse did was very easy to copy by a lot of these
Yeah.
other popular services, so sure, Discord helped maybe kill that, and certainly Twitter Spaces, and I think Facebook has been working on something too. So
Yeah.
yeah, I
I,
think
I,
there's a
I
lot
will
to go.
say, back to that point I was making about the reach of Twitter
Hmm.
and even globally, I believe our producer Ben might have been the one who unearthed this for us, that Pew Research says only a quarter of US adults are on Twitter, and that 97% of tweets from the US are a quarter of the people who are actually already on
Hmm.
Twitter, which is a quarter of adults in the US. So it's like a very loud group of people. Like we're all very active in social, some of us, right? A quarter of us that are active on Twitter, but we're also a very small percent of the population
Hmm.
that's actually in the US. So think about that globally. It's not even that
Yeah.
huge, but this also kind of lends us a way to expand the conversation, right? Because like there are other platforms out there. There's just social media in general, of which yes, Twitter is a small but kind of influential part of, because people borrow features everywhere. We just talked about how a bunch of different services managed to kill Clubhouse. But sorry to like go and bring up
Hmm.
that number, but back to the thing you were asking me about, like, I don't know, Spaces and stuff and Twitter Blue. I feel like these are different things that Twitter is trying, right? And Twitter will
Hmm.
continue to try these different things. I think under Parag, I'm not sure I'm all that here for it. I
Hmm.
also thought, let's not forget that they rolled out, or they tried to roll out fleets. They tried to roll out voice tweets, and then, didn't do very well with voice tweets because it wasn't accessible or it wasn't inclusive from the beginning.
Yep. Yep.
A lot of missteps that were made back then. So we'll see.
I think a lot of people are still trying to figure out what Twitter is. For me,
Yeah.
like from the beginning, like I think I joined in like 2007 or 2008. Like I was right there for the global internet chat party. Like that's what I want: instant communication with everybody all
Yeah.
over the world. I've made a lot of friends on Twitter. I've talked to, that's Twitter is how I started organizing my early podcast. Like that's how a lot of film critics and people were just on Twitter, because that's where everybody was
Yeah.
talking, and I could just ping them and be like, "Hey, you want to be on my show?" And they're like, "What's a podcast?" And
Yeah.
this is 2008.
I do like that. Yeah.
So like that sort of direct connection to influential people was really interesting. I think the ultimate thing everybody's gonna have to learn is that Twitter can't be Facebook, right? Twitter can't be something that gets over 2 billion users around the world, but Twitter is very good at focusing on people who in media, or people who want to be influential, or people who want to talk to each
Mm-hmm.
other. I think I've seen these P stats before, and I wonder, there's
Mm-hmm.
kind of no way to measure like how impactful are these people on Twitter, right? Like how are these people in terms of guiding public conversation or influencing broader folks like politicians and just like public sentiment in general. There's a lot of things we can't measure, and I do feel like
Yeah.
there's still something at the heart of Twitter that I think is really interesting. So I'm interested in seeing where it's going. Related to all this, by the way, Square went through a company renaming, just like Facebook
Yeah.
turned into Meta. Jack Dorsey says Square is being renamed to Block, to really focus on the idea that they want to focus more on the blockchain, which is like one of the many fields they're kind of looking into, because Square also has what they have Cash App. They have like a bunch of other things that they're kind of tied to. I wonder if this is the trend too, of tech companies kind of just really just naming themselves to literally reflect what they're focusing on now. Because the reason Facebook turned to Meta is because Zuckerberg wants to focus on the metaverse. This seems like just a surprising copy move. It won't matter to any consumer. Like, this is not relevant to your life, but I think it is kind of funny as a move. Yeah.
I like the joke tweets that came out right after. It was like, oh, just barely a few minutes after leaving Twitter or announcing that he's leaving Twitter, Jack's already been blocked.
Already been blocked. And also, just like so many other people, he has a very dramatic I'm leaving Twitter letter, because that is the thing you see among a lot of media personalities.
Some
like,
personal news, star
personal
emoji.
News. I gotta take a Twitter break. Everybody, it'll last 1 week and you won't even notice I'm gone. So
yep. Yeah.
Cool. So we will. Yeah. Go ahead, Trillian.
I was just gonna say, I wonder what will happen. I mean, I feel like Reddit's another example of one of those, like, communal spaces where memes travel far and wide and super fast, and people have certain, I guess also like their own inside jokes, right? Like the fact that some personal news is a whole thing that was exclusively a Twitter thing.
Yeah.
And some of us inside this bubble know of it. Like, I feel like in some circles where you just say the word some personal news, people are like, gasp, what are you going to say? But then within a mainstream audience, people don't know. And Reddit has stuff like that too. So I don't think Reddit's going to change. I just do think that, like, I don't know, those are like nice sacred spaces we have right now, right? And who's to know how they'll change soon?
Who's to know? But we'll be keeping track of everything happening on Twitter. And you know what? Let us know if you have any questions. Podcast@engadget.com. Do we want to take a break for Q&A?
Yeah, let's take a quick break for Q&A.
Then people have questions, I saw.
Yeah.
I've also preemptively blocked at least one person.
Jonathan Anderson said that Clubhouse has its audience. Twitter Spaces is a result of Clubhouse. So there is an audience for that style of communicating. That's true. Also, Twitter has much more of an incumbency. Like, there are just a lot of people on there already. Promoting whatever they have to do for work or whatever. And so it's easy to just jump into that. From our specific point of view, I've always called Twitter a very sassy LinkedIn for journalists. So it just makes sense that, like, why not go to where the media people already are and then give them another opportunity to talk endlessly.
Give them a microphone. That's all media people want to do. Trust me. Exactly. I know how it works.
Exactly.
But the like exclusivity of Clubhouse, that was like the hot thing. Like, it was VCs and startup bros in this invite only private app where they could just talk at each other like a freaking conference call. Like, that's all it was. So I think it's one of those things. Like, if your functionality is so low, like such a basic level of functionality that anybody can copy it and bring it into their more powerful platform, then you're kind of doomed. I think that's the ultimate thing we learned there. But yeah.
And I remember early in the Clubhouse life cycle that VCs were really happy that, like, it was so invite only. So it was like it felt like it was only them. But then Taylor Lorenz from the New York Times found an invite, and they were like, oh, no, we can't possibly. Like, there's an interloper in our midst.
I hate it. I hate it all. It also reminds me of, like, I've gone to dinners with like tech people and with like techy executives who don't realize I'm within earshot, and it is wild the things that these people talk about when they think you're not listening. And I think that was the fear for them too.
I don't know. I'm sure you've logged this or banked this, Ben, but I wanted to shout out to user named Shalom Man, who says that they've been watching for a year and are finally watching live for the first time. Hello.
Yeah, I think that's so cool because, I mean, we know that people watch whenever they can, but like the fact that you're making the effort to go from being a recorded viewer to being a live viewer, that feels really cool. That's really special. Thank you, Shalom. Armando Fernandez says, wait till Jack leaves block for Tesseract. The 4D shape.
The 4D shape. Yeah, that would be.
There's also I believe, a company called Tesseract, but like
There
with an
has to be.
A or something.
All the like cool geeky names are taken. I'm surprised Block wasn't taken. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's like a common word.
Block is a low-hanging fruit, though. Tesseract, like literally every kid who read Wrinkle in Time was like, "Oh wow, cool. This is how I'm gonna name my company in 20 years."
I loved, like, what was it in A Wind in the Door? I don't know how you guys pronounce it. In my head, I always pronounce it Kithing or Kith. You know, the way they like connect, like they talk to each other telepathically. But yeah, no, it's that was another really cool concept in Madeleine L'Engle's books. Love them. I love the whole series.
Loved them.
So Bryant Mitchell says MySpace Tom is having the best time of his life.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, I think that's absolutely true. And that's something that people bring up every single time whenever Zuckerberg is in trouble or anything.
Take the money and run. Go travel the world.
Well, yeah, and of course the thing that people always bring up is like all Tom did was show you bands, teach teenagers HTML, and then get a bunch of money from Rupert Murdoch and leave.
And I think he's on Instagram, right? Like we get photos of him all over the world. So, you know, he's on something where he shows off all his travels, which I don't. Yeah, sure. That is the thing you should do when it's safe to travel.
And if you are, let's say 25 and over, maybe it could be a throwback costume if you're under 25, but like you see a MySpace Tom Halloween costume just about every year, at least a couple of them.
Absolutely. Okay. I think we can, let's just keep going. Unless you guys got more questions.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have more time to chat with chat in a little bit, I guess.
We'll chat with you all. Sherlyn, do you want to like jump into, because I've been talking for a while, do you want to start with Snapdragon and then I can do Theranos
Sure,
after?
if you want to.
Yes, let's start with Snapdragon.
Because that's definitely more important. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll throw it to you. How about that?
Okay.
Okay, enough of Twitter. Let's talk about hot chips, specifically hot mobile chips from Qualcomm. And Sherlyn, I think you want to tell us all about the new Snapdragon hardware that they announced in Hawaii. I'm every time they have those summits in Hawaii, I'm like, I should be there, not here.
I enjoyed the one time I attended, but something about Qualcomm, you know, when we attended, we paid our own way, but something about Qualcomm just like hosting a huge bunch of people to cover their news it's a little like that doesn't sit right with me.
It's not great.
I again love it there. I think we can cover the news pretty effectively remotely, which is nice. So we did, and we have 2 articles up on Engadget.com should you feel the need to get this in a written form to read. But basically the gist of it is every year at its tech summit, usually in Hawaii, Qualcomm launches its next generation of premium mobile chips, which is typically the Snapdragon 8 series. It's been the 845, 855, 865. Last year it was the 888. This year, because it is clearly running out of numbers to go, Qualcomm has done I don't know, I guess like a rebrand. I almost said epic rebrand, but actually it's not epic. It's the complete opposite of epic.
Fine.
It's a rebrand.
A more human name for these chips.
Yeah. It's it's called Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, which I look forward to repeating over and over again in my reviews later next year. But the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, it will, as is usually the case for Snapdragon, Qualcomm's 8 series Snapdragon processors, it will show up in a bunch of phones, Android phones next year from companies like Xiaomi, Oppo. I believe some of the names listed were also Sharp. And more phone makers that we don't actually, see a lot in the US, because, the market is dominated here by Apple, Samsung, and Google, who all make their own chips / use Snapdragon anyway. But what's the big deal about this chip? If I'm not wrong, I'm just double checking my spec sheet right now. I'm pretty sure it's a 4nm design, which is like pretty insane, but that seems like a number I saw somewhere and then forgot. I am looking at the spec sheet now, and I feel like if they did say it was 4nm, it would be higher up.
It'd be higher up. I mean,
right? It would be the first thing they said.
The main thing I'm getting is like I saw a lot of tweets coming out of the announcement event, and it was just like the pie in the sky stuff they could do. Like it could shoot 8K HDR footage at
Right.
30 frames per second. Okay, cool.
Right.
And yeah.
Here's the thing. So I did say, right, so it
Mhm.
is foreign process technology. So I mean, that's kind of incredible. But it also, like you said, it's got an 18-bit ISP compared to 14-bit on the predecessor. And so
Okay.
that allows it to, capture so much more data. It's got like really great capture speeds of 3.2 gigapixels per second, and like you said, 8K HDR video capture at
Mhm.
about 30 frames per second, I believe, but I gotta double check that number. And it was already capable of doing like super high res high frame rate video before, like 4K at the very least at 30 FPS, I believe.
Mhm.
And then now I guess 8K, but like,
8K.
who's gonna implement that on their phone?
It's a
I
lot of
don't know.
stuff that I don't think, and this is the thing I always yell at Qualcomm for. It's like, sure, theoretically somebody will put this in a phone, but I have a lot of feelings about 8K people, and 8K as a format does not make sense in your living room, and it
Yeah,
certainly doesn't make sense on your phone. Those files are
right.
huge. Those files are
Yeah.
honking big. 4K is already big enough, and we don't have enough phone storage for even 4K. There is a lot of the stuff that I don't know if anybody's actually going to take advantage of. Like they talked about, it has support for Qualcomm's aptX lossless Bluetooth
I
codec.
mean,
Which okay, sure. If you have a headphone that supports that one specific codec, then sure, that may be fine. I also don't think I, I think we've actually kind of figured out good quality audio from Bluetooth. Like lossless is not going to win you like any major fans here. They talked about minting NFTs with this chip. Who cares? Who
I
cares?
oh honestly, it's like they also on the during the keynote, Qualcomm also mentioned the word metaverse.
Yep,
So I guess great for them. It
great for
sounds
them.
like really just Qualcomm looking at what's popular, what's being talked about in the industry. Like for a period of time, lost the aptics or acoustic lossless stuff they were talking about came around the time true wireless earbuds were like the hottest product on the market.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
that's when they started really like talking about audio. And you are right, like not a lot of people, like the compatibility issues with their codec, it took them a whole like separate phone they had to make Asus make with them to find out how that really
Uh,
sounds. And even then it's not like that great of a deal. I mean,
it's
again, I'm not the biggest
yeah.
aficionado when it comes to like sound quality,
Well, I
but
will say, like specific wireless audio codec stuff too. Like Sony has their is it LDAC codec. These things are so annoying because you have to have a specific pair of headphones. It can only work with certain kinds of phones or devices, and if you don't have that cross compatibility, I don't think anybody actually notices. Is the thing. Like
yeah,
Apple has not activated. Apple is not using aptX, which is the like higher resolution Bluetooth like compression technology. They're still
right,
using AAC, but that's more than good enough for the HomePod. Was it the AirPods?
yeah,
Even the over the ear ones. So
yeah,
I none of
pro,
this
yeah, I mean,
actually matters. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And just to quickly give people a bit more info about the Snapdragon 8
Hmm.
Gen 1. It supports Wi-Fi 6, 6E. It's got the latest 5G modem and supports, I believe it's according to Qualcomm anyway, it's the world's first to have the support for 3GPP's release 16 5G.
Hmm.
Uh cool. If you've really been paying attention to what the 3GPP release 16 5G means, it just means like better IoT 5G support. From my understanding, I don't know how much of that has
Okay.
changed since the last time I read release 16. But yeah, it's look, 5G has always been like Qualcomm's thing. They've been fighting, pushing
Hmm.
and saying that so much of their innovations went into 5G and but 5G still isn't here. I remember back in the day they
Hmm.
promised 5G 2020. I'm like, okay, technically you did kind of make that deadline, but we're
Yeah,
now
yeah.
approaching 2022, and like, who's really using millimeter wave 5G?
Yeah, I've been reporting on 5G like since 2012. I think like since they
Yes,
first started like having
yes,
inklings about it. And hey, the one of the latest pieces of news we heard is that a lot of carriers have to reduce the power output of their 5G networks because it could be interfering with airplanes. So there's a lot of stuff we still have to work through.
is a
These
lot.
claims of like super fast speeds literally you will never see it unless you're standing in front of a 5G tower and looking right at it. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
I'm a little worried. They
It
announced some other chips though too, right? And I think those could be
They
more
did.
interesting. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, just closing out the 8
Mhm.
Gen 1, there's also some AI improvements. They've renamed the Hexagon DSP to a Hexagon processor. It is now their AI processor, and it is 4
Mhm.
times faster than previous generation. Alongside the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, they did announce that they were teaming up with Google on some neural architecture things.
Uh-huh.
I'm not going to get too much into that because that's not really what we cover. What we do cover is chips for PCs, which I have covered for way too
Mhm.
long at this point, which is Windows on ARM PCs, Windows on ARM chips. And this year at the Tech Summit, Qualcomm launched the Snapdragon 8CX Gen 3 and 7C Plus Gen 3 because
These are supposed to
alphabet
be
soup
easier
is great now.
names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't even. Don't even get me started. The 8CX was, if you recall, one of the first like made for PC Snapdragon chips they made, and it was the X was supposed to stand for extreme, and I guess the 7C Plus stands for plus. I don't know,
Plus.
y'all. Anyhow,
I don't know.
this a version of the ACX Gen 2, which was last year's model, was in the was kind of basically Microsoft's SQ2, which was in the Surface Pro X Gen 2 last year as well. We never really had a sense of how that performed, other than still not great. Definitely not MacBook or Apple's M1 level. But with the Gen 3, it is the, according to Qualcomm, first 5nm PC platform. And it's designed for ultra slim and fanless laptops. So again, like things like the Surface Pro X series, I guess. And moving to a 5nm process design, along with some other optimizations, Qualcomm said that this allowed for improved CPU performance, despite similar power consumption levels only. So like this thing should be faster while not being too hot / not draining your battery life. Again, I am skeptical about this because, we know that the problem with the Windows on ARM wasn't necessarily the processors. It was the software. We'll get into that some other time.
Windows 11 is supposed to be better with ARM-based hardware, but we have not seen enough evidence of that to really determine. Like it's certainly not as seamless as like the jump from for Apple, for Mac OS from the Intel side to their ARM-based chips was like miraculous. It's invisible to the user. Even the emulation of x86 apps was faster than a lot of Intel chips, So what Apple did was the stuff Qualcomm can only dream of. And I think we've talked about this. It's specifically because Apple makes the software. Apple makes all the hardware.
Yeah.
Apple doesn't need to deal with hardware partners and hope Dell makes a good computer based on its hardware. And they don't need to beg Microsoft to make Windows better. They could just do it all. And unfortunately, that's the thing. Yeah.
Speaking of doing it all, the 8CX Gen 3 is supposed to offer up to 60% improved performance over last generation chips during GPU intensive tasks, thanks to its new GPU. So gaming in full HD at up to 120 FPS. And then you can play like longer, so the battery will last longer during your gaming sessions. Again, great if you can find compatible games on your ARM-based PCs. Like, yes, some of them are, but like Steam just never did run on a Windows on ARM machine. So good luck with that. And then speaking of gaming, the company also announced a new chip for handheld gaming consoles, basically like Android gaming consoles.
Well, they showed off this like weird Switch-like thing that looks like an extra. It looks like a Switch with a phone shoved in the middle of it, basically. It looks really awkward and tall. Yeah.
I recently saw one of these. I talked to people in my life about these devices and what they're excited about. One of these people that I talked to bought a Windows handheld gaming console on Amazon.
They exist.
Yeah, they exist. It's like a Windows 10 thing. Anyway, it looks like one of these, right? And so basically what Qualcomm was showing off was basically, I think, a reference design for a potential Android handheld gaming device powered by the new Snapdragon G3X Gen 1 gaming platform. Once again, that name is Snapdragon G3X Gen 1 gaming platform.
G is for games, I guess. Right. But they also they worked with Razer on this, which is kind of cool. So it does have like that sheen of a Razer device. The actual controller looks like the Razer Kishi controller, which you can get for your iPhone or Android phones too. But cool.
It's a gaming dev kit, might be not just a reference design, but a dev kit that developers can get on Razer's website, like you said. That device itself has.
So go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's no hope for this. Like, what are we even doing here? But okay. Sure.
Well,
good specs. Good specs.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. It's got let's go through the specs really quickly, right? It's got a 120 hertz screen, 6.65-inch OLED with 10-bit HDR support, 4-way speakers, and that built-in Kishi-like controller that Devendra was talking about. You can even use it to live stream because it's got like a 1080p camera that can record up to 60 FPS, and then also mics. Look, like we said, like, does it have any hope? We don't know. Stadia? Huh? You know what I mean? And
there are a lot of these devices. So like you were saying, somebody bought a Windows 10 one. There are a lot of these things. They're trying to be the Steam Deck that just want to be your emulation box, right? So it's a controller, it's a system you can walk around with. You can play all your old games, maybe some old console games, all stuff in a legal gray area. But as a platform, like no one's going to be rushing out to buy an Android gaming, portable system.
Yeah, and the thing I will say is that like they have Razer going for it. Like Razer's backing is not insignificant. I mean, Razer, the company that like made a mask just for fun and then decided to start selling it because people liked it so much. Who knows?
It's a good mask.
It seems like it. So you never know if this is good enough. Razer might just be like, all right, we're gonna make it. Min Liang-tan is like watching people enjoy this, podcast today. He's like, yep, we're gonna ship it. Let's do it. Assembly line it. So yeah, okay, maybe, but I think it just begs more questions than it offers answers because, well, is Android good enough? Is this, is that what people want? Android gaming on a handheld console?
Or people can buy these things just for cloud gaming. So when I've talked about the Razer Kishi and the Backbone, which is an even better controller for iPhone, the real joy of those things is you pop in your phone and then all of a sudden you could stream games from your gaming PC via Steam. Steam has streaming within your home network. You could stream Xbox games from the Xbox Cloud if you're a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber. Stadia games, like things from all these other services. Like there could be a need for devices like these, but I do think like a lot of people, those controller adapters should just be like $50, like $50 to $100. You buy those if you want to be a gamer. You have a good phone already. I assume you've already spent a lot of money on a good quality phone. You don't need to spend it all over again on one of these things, So I don't know. I'm really into the controller adapters. Yeah.
I mean, that's a good idea. One last note on the Snapdragon G3X is that you mentioned game streaming, and on the connectivity side, like every Qualcomm device, the Qualcomm platform, I guess, the G3X Gen 1 will offer 5G millimeter wave and sub-6 compatibility as well as Wi-Fi 6 and 6E. So I mean, cool.
Game streaming. There was one controversy out of all this, right? Because the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, one of the features they touted is just completely dystopian and always on camera. So my two questions are WTH, why the hell does this exist? And also WTF, like why would you do this?
I'll tell you the why of it, right? Which is the company why, right? The company thinks this is going to be so convenient because you can just, the phone's always looking for your face. So like whenever you want to log in, just kind of like blink, I guess. I don't know to me it's like, that's not great. I don't want my phone to A, be always watching me, B, be like, your phone's always unlocked as long as your face is within my eye shot. I'm just like, no, that's completely against the point. I just bring back the fingerprint sensor. I don't care. But that's what they're saying is that it's convenient. It will let you wake and unlock your phone without picking it up or like unlocking it or pressing a button first, and then also instantly lock when it knows your face isn't around, which like, okay, for that
could be cool.
That could be cool. Yeah. But no, I mean, the good news is that like not every Snapdragon feature has to be employed or adopted by OEMs in their phones, so thankfully we're probably not going to see it
most
given
likely.
The backlash so far. But man, is you good with a phone that's always looking for your face, Devendra?
Yeah,
do you like the idea?
That is how Face ID technically works. Like if you're holding up, if your phone is on your table and you like tap it or something, it gets enough of a glimpse of your face, it'll unlock.
Yeah.
I do kind of get a sense that Qualcomm, Apple and Qualcomm always go back and forth in terms of features. So I think they're trying to like out Face ID, outdo what Face ID does. Are they only talking about this for the front facing camera? Because I do think rear facing.
That's what sounds like it.
Okay. So rear facing, I can also imagine like somebody's going to think about like what you could do with a rear facing, always on camera sensor.
Right.
Battery life is certainly going to take a big hit, but it could be cool. It's just one of those things where I don't know if you're actually solving the problem here, guys, or at least like trigger that thing. You could trigger it faster if I pick up my phone or if I jiggle the phone or something and then it looks from my face. Like there are a lot of ways you could deal with this. I don't know what they specifically mean by always on, but it's certainly you're not helping. You're not fixing anything here, guys. You're just trying to chase Apple.
Yeah. I do think that if you want to chase Apple, give us a good Face ID alternative on Android, like something that's a good IR camera or a depth camera, like something that takes more data than just a face picture to unlock your phones like that. I mean, I'm sure there's some out there, but with the Samsung Note series, when that went away because they decided to do a punch hole or pinhole camera, that went away. Like, I want it back. Bring it back. Come on.
Yeah. My question for you, Sherlyn, like as we wrap up this side, do you think like these new chips, obviously they'll be in the next, powerful Android phones and those things are going to sell like hotcakes. Like that's a given. But do you think anything Qualcomm is doing is going to help PCs like notebooks or any of these other kinds of devices? Because I think, man, Apple is just off to a running start here. They are on their second generation M1 chips. They've proved that they could make these things incredibly powerful. Intel AMD are racing to catch up. Qualcomm is in the best place to do a powerful mobile chip. Do you think they're going to get to the point or do something interesting in 2022 with this hardware?
I do think they've already been trying their best, right, to make a good chip. It is really their struggle comes with like making Microsoft's thing work on its Windows on ARM thing. So but they have been part of the players like pushing Microsoft to do better. And I think Microsoft finally gets the point at this juncture in the game. They're like, oh, look what Apple did. I guess we should step up our game. I feel like 2022 is going to be the year we see like improvements to Windows on ARM. How significant they'll be, I'm not entirely sure, but I don't think that we can, solely blame Qualcomm for that. Meanwhile, for these handheld gaming chips for Android, I do think we're going to see at least some other company try, right? I think Qualcomm, one of the things that it's had going for it for so long is its partner relationships. I mean, setting aside its IP stuff, right? Like it's all about its IP, but it's got a lot of partners that are game to take a chance. And so in 2022, we're going to see some of these trickle out. The more important thing is how well they perform in real life when we get to review them. And if they're good, great. If not, then I feel like Qualcomm, it's really on its last few legs to try to remain relevant because we are seeing such intense competition across the chip industry. So yeah, we'll see.
Do you think they're in danger of being acquired or something too? Because that was NVIDIA announced, was it last year or earlier this year? They're trying to acquire ARM. So they're going to, and I know British regulators are trying to put a stop to that, but that was a big move to be like, hey, we were just going to buy the company that everybody, takes their designs and builds chips off of that design. Qualcomm, it seems like, somebody could snap up Qualcomm easily.
They could, but Qualcomm's pretty huge. I will say, like on the ladder, you've got you still got MediaTek below Qualcomm, and MediaTek, let's not forget, also had an event in Laguna Beach last week or 2 weeks ago. Which cool. And MediaTek's in a lot of like smart home devices. So if someone like AMD or something wants to buy MediaTek just to beef up its small chip for small, like less process intensive the devices, wants to get them, sure, cool. I feel like in the chip business, other than like Apple or Nvidia, it's kind of every man for himself right now, because like Intel's kind of like struggling to keep up. Qualcomm's also like, I think, facing some pressure because all these companies like Apple and Google are making their own chips now. And ARM obviously was an easy buy for, I think, Nvidia if they wanted to buy it, and pre-regulation discussions, because ARM just made the designs that enable all these companies to make their own chips. So it is a smart move to like want to buy ARM. But whether that'll actually happen is another question. So
and Qualcomm is a big company, right? Market cap right now is 192 billion. That is even above, like, I'm just looking like what is the biggest business acquisition ever, right? And according to, I'm looking at Wikipedia here, Vodafone, AirTouch bought Mannesmann for 183 billion in 1999 dollars. So that's like 284 billion today. That's a big deal. We don't really see deals that large, but I do think like as these tech giants are growing, like Google could buy that with a drop of a hat. You know, the unfortunate thing is we've seen what Google does to companies it absorbs, and it's never good. So I would not wish that on Qualcomm. I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see. We'll keep an eye on all this hardware, folks. If you have questions about the next round of Qualcomm hardware, if you think Windows on ARM is a good idea, do you think it'll ever have a chance against Apple's M1, laptops or PCs? Well, let us know. Podcast.engadget.com. Let's get straight to Theranos, and that's gonna be real quick.
I love that we nerded out about chips for like a good half hour. This is
good.
Why am I such a chip girl?
Well, yeah, but it's also giving the people what they want. We were talking about
what people want,
things like Twitter. People kind of sort of care about it, but chips, that's what Engadget wants.
That's what Engadget wants. Okay. Let me just do this. Okay. Moving on to less nerdy chip news. The Theranos trial is happening, and Elizabeth Holmes has been on trial for the past week, I believe, in San Jose, California. And there's been some interesting developments there. Not really stuff we've covered too much on Engadget, just because a lot of it's just like a nitty-gritty business stuff. What do you know? What does she know about what was going on at Theranos? And I think the big takeaways are, prosecutors have been really pushing her to take responsibility for her actions. There's some great reporting from Erin Griffith at the New York Times. So go check out all of her coverage because she's been there every day at the court. But there has been a big push from a lot of people to force Elizabeth Holmes to say, like, were you responsible for it? And they've gone back to videos early on at the company where, she said, like, yeah, I'm the CEO. The buck stops with me. And that's something prosecutors have been getting her to really commit to. Don't forget, like, if you don't know this whole drama, there is a decent HBO documentary about Theranos by Alex Gibney. I gave it kind of a middling review just because it covered territory that a lot of people already knew. But if you're new to all this, Theranos was the company saying, hey, we have this magical box that can test with a drop of your blood, can test you for all sorts of stuff. And it was entirely BS, like almost complete BS. And tests that they had run at Walgreens and other places put people's lives in danger because they assumed they were getting accurate medical readings about this stuff.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So anyway, this is going to be an ongoing trial. It is interesting to see how people are positioning Holmes, because if you watch that documentary, she is one of the strangest figures I've ever seen in the tech world, because she is somebody who is clearly trying to imitate Steve Jobs, like right down to the black turtleneck, but also to the like trying to create this sense of what do they call it? The magical field, the basically the aura around her when she says something, you'd believe it would happen. And that is
you're not talking about je ne sais quoi, right?
No. Well, I don't know, maybe people are saying that's it too, but I forget the name. There's a term for it, but Steve Jobs would say like that. There's this magical field.
Go back. It's reality distortion field.
Yes. Okay. People would say Steve Jobs had this reality distortion field about him, right? Like he could talk about anything, and people would be like, "Yes, tell me more. Tell me more. You're a genius. I will do whatever you say." And that's how he convinced the world to buy iMacs and to buy iPods and even the iPhone, like positioning technology as this thing that will change your life. He was so good at that. Even when people were really skeptical, she was apparently very good at that too when it came to getting investors and getting people on board with her. And I think that was a part of like what led to her success. There's also this really weird story that I'm not going to get too into here, but there at one point during her testimony, she said that her former boyfriend Ramesh Sunny Balwani, her number 2 at Forbes, had also like mentally and physically abused her. And that's stuff they will have to talk about. That's stuff they will have to dive into. Part of me wonders, like, that is a really interesting case to put for your defense, to be like, hey, I'm just a poor innocent girl, and this older man completely manipulated me. I think both could be true, but we don't know. I don't want to get to that. That's just really weird and iffy. But I think among the things, like among the gossip coming out of this trial, which is really this trial is a fodder for like gossip in Silicon Valley. It was really weird and interesting to see. Do you have any feelings about this, Sherlyn? Like there's been a lot of talk about this trial and what it means. Are we being too mean to women CEOs? And I don't think that was the case. She lied. She lied and messed up. Yeah.
I remember this case specifically for how messed up it was. Like, yeah, it was like she didn't come under fire because she was a likable woman CEO who was about to be very, very successful. She came under fire for all the crap stuff.
The thing that happens is people are like, oh, this woman is too hard on her employees, therefore we will cancel her. And
that's the away CEO. You know what I mean? Like that's a whole other So that's a different issue. This is a clear-cut case of like wrongdoing, and I think I understand that, you know, life can get very hard to handle when you're in an abusive relationship because, you know, you're kind of like one-track minded in that sort of situation. But I think also at some point when you're far enough away from the issue, you kind of have to own up and take some responsibility, at least some. Not, you don't have to take all. Just be like, oh, yeah, I was a shithead, I was wrong. That I feel like that's one of the most powerful things people can do for themselves.
Absolutely.
But anyway, you want to shout out something that our video team pointed out is that like there's also a Yahoo Finance documentary on the topic. So if you're ever keen on checking out, Yahoo Finance is one of our sister sites. So I guess we can throw them a bone and talk about their documentary. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot out there about this issue. I would love to see how this trial comes out. This is will her reality distortion field impact the jury?
I think that's kind of what when she brought up the abuse angle, I was like, oh man,
the RDF thing.
I see what's happening. I'm just anyway, it's gross. It's I hope she I basically hope like she gets the responsibility for everything she done. Like I really hope the court
some culpability in all of this, right?
Yeah, kind of finds her guilty of a lot of that stuff because we've covered this for so long, and even seeing that story play out, even she mentions like, yeah, they completely screwed up their response to the Wall Street Journal's articles, which initially were just like, hey, this company is completely made up, and their technology is a lie. So many things of what they're doing is just a lie. I hope, yeah, justice is found basically with Theranos. Let's move on to something a little more fun. How about that? Spotify Wrapped was this week, and I love Spotify Wrapped because it is one of those things.
Yeah,
it's a time of year. It's also one of those things where it's like, you know, these companies are already tracking us. So if you're going to track all my habits and my data and everything, at least give me something back. Give me like a way to reflect on the year. And I think it always comes in early December. And as always, you're like, yeah, I really did listen to a lot of Thundercat this year apparently. So. It just really calls out all the artists you always listen to. It's also a reminder to me that my daughter has completely ruined my algorithm because half of it is like, Thundercat and Bjork and video game music, and half of it is the Moana soundtrack on repeat.
Aww.
So The Rock is one of my top listened to artists.
Love it.
Because of Moana. But yeah, that's a thing. How did your Spotify Wrap turn out, Shirley?
This year I should surprise no one that I listen to a lot of K-pop, and my top artist was G-Idol. For those of you who are K-pop fans, G-Idol is also people who are part of like KDA, which is the League of Legends virtual band. So I'm very proud of myself right now. But also I kind of like seeing how I was very surprised that like the top song I listened to, or one of my top artists was Doja Cat, which like
that makes
pretty
sense.
pleased with myself again. Yeah, she's
a
good. Love her music.
Did you get anything
and her videos.
Weird among your list? Because I wonder, like, do you ever listen to the Cooking Mama soundtrack? I wonder if you need to get like the title music just on repeat over and over again. Or
I do listen to some weird music, but thankfully, like I spam so much of my other music that I like a lot that like they don't make it into my top. Like the occasional odd music that I listen to doesn't make it into my top 10 easy. But I will say, my favorite podcast on Spotify is the Engadget podcast because I love listening to the sound of my voice, apparently.
Probably also the only thing you're subscribed to on Spotify.
That is true. Hey, listener or viewer, if the Engadget podcast is on your Spotify Wrapped, can you please take a screenshot and share it with us
Tell
at
us the amount of
Engadget?
time.
Share it on Twitter. Yeah, we'll see. I would love to see people actually be listening to us on Spotify. That would be really cool. How about
man.
yeah. I mean, I think. Oh, and then they said like your aura. They took a photo of
The
your
aura is really cool. I do like the
Still
aura
kinda
idea.
strange, yeah.
It's just like your vibe, your music vibe.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like, one was happy and one was like energetic or something, I think.
Mine was
Good
confident
colors.
in something, and I almost want to say confident and bossy because that's kind of what I felt they were trying to tell me.
You're like the
But let
boss
me,
baby grown up. Okay.
yeah. What was mine? Man, is that here? It is.
It is hard. It's hard
Confident
to see
and
on desktop.
bold, not bossy.
Okay.
It's another BO word. Confident and bold, basically synonyms. Cool.
Synonyms.
Well done,
Well,
Spotify. Look,
my number one song of the year was "You're Welcome" by The Rock. So I have to sing it
that's
to
your
my daughter.
right there.
I have to sing it to my daughter
Aw.
every night during bath time. So
What's
she
my
loves
number
it.
one song? Number one song. My song of the year was "Say So" by Doja Cat.
Okay.
I played it a very reasonable 305 times. What's yours? What was your number of times?
I mean, I'm looking at my desktop here, so I don't. The desktop experience is not as good. Like they do a really cool like mobile card thing.
Yeah. So can I just say that like, look, I had fun with the Spotify Wrap thing, but I have so many problems with the Spotify app. I love that it's available on so many platforms and works with so many devices, but like, sort your shit out, Spotify. Why won't you stay connected to my devices? Why is the web experience not great? Why is the desktop experience I can't. Anyhow.
There's a lot of stuff, but I will say like the thing I love about Spotify is the Spotify Connect thing, which a lot of people do, really like the ability to hop between speakers or just like I'm listening on my phone, push this to my computer, which is running Spotify, push this to my Xbox, which has the Spotify app. Like it's magic how that's
really great.
It does work pretty well. Yeah.
It just struggles to stay connected for me, which like annoys me when I'm like mid.
Maybe it's just judging your music.
True, could be, but I would say that if Spotify had an aura, the two words for it would be messy and chaotic.
Messy and chaotic. Okay, how about this? Let's move on to what you're working on because I also think it'll probably be messy and chaotic. What do you want to shout out here, Sholin?
I continue to work on year-end stuff. I am, like I said, working on an accessibility report that, recaps some of the biggest developments in assistive tech. So if you have any ideas, if something caught your eye this year that you thought I might, pay attention to, feel free to send it our way at podcast@engadget.com. Other things I would love for you guys to send us is more year-end coverage for us, including the best and worst gadgets or products of the year.
How about no more year-end coverage?
I mean, that would be great. Yes, but if you out there listening or watching have an idea, please send it our way, podcast@engadget.com, or feel free to hit us up on Twitter as well. I mean, at Engadget on Twitter is a good one. Yeah, awesome. No, that's my main things. How about you?
Awesome. I want to quickly shout out Jonathan Anderson in the chat who's saying Apple Music all the way as we talk about Spotify Connect. And it is really every time, or a Spotify Wrapped, every time Spotify Wrapped happens, it is that new meme that is popping up everywhere. Like one person on the bus, very sad, huddled in a corner, one person on the bus, happy. I'm sorry, Apple Music fans. Like, I'm sorry. Apple has not figured out.
Sorry, Dev, who said that in the chat so I can...
Jonathan Anderson.
All right, I'm gonna ban him.
Oh yeah.
Well, speaking of Julio, he mentioned that the Spotify Apple Watch app sucks. Let's just RQ.
I mean, don't use Apple Watch apps for media. I don't know. It's not great. I'll move on. My end of the year stuff. This week I've basically just been working on all the end of year stories I have on my plate. So it's a bunch of lists. I'm gonna have a viewing guide for holiday stuff. I'm trying to find like stuff like I assume you'll watch Squid Game, but maybe things you could enjoy if you enjoyed Squid Game. Nice. I'm working on kind of a wrap-up story about what the global chip shortage could mean for the tech world next year. Unfortunately, like I'm trying really hard to talk to people about this, and everyone's like, I will not talk about this on the record, or everyone's just like disappeared for the week or the entire year, I guess, until CES happens. So we'll see. I'm working on it. I also tested last week. I tested the Kia Sorento plug-in hybrid. So I've talked about wanting to test more family cars, and that thing was really cool. I'll be writing that up eventually. But you know, the Sorento is a really like bread and butter mid-size SUV. It has 3 rows. It can fit like a whole family. You could put kids in the back. Has a lot of storage in the back. But it was really cool testing one of these that had plug-in hybrid capability. So like for 35 miles, you know, you could run on electric. It felt cool and zippy and better than any Kia I've ever been in, but I haven't tested a Telluride yet. And that apparently has been the new hotness for the past couple of years. So I don't know. That's car talk for this week. I will be writing that up, and I've got some car stories I need to write up eventually. Yeah, I'm looking at cars, folks. Like, it is a cool thing to do, especially down here, because I don't have good public transportation. So I have to explore the rest of the world of transportation. And luckily, it's a really interesting time for plug-in hybrids and electric cars too. So really just laying the groundwork so I can play with all the electric cars coming out next year. I'm really looking forward to all of that. Let's move on to our pop culture picks, and I really want to talk with you about the thing you're highlighting, Sherlyn, which is M. Night Shyamalan's Old.
Yeah, one of the things I'm talking about this week is I finally saw Old. I will explain, though. There is a big caveat here, and Devinder, you're going to enjoy laughing at me about this. I watched Old on the airplane.
Oh, boy.
When I was...
Yeah, was it on the airplane seat or on your computer?
Oh, yeah, on the airplane seat.
Okay.
Monitor. So I barely saw things sometimes. And also, I only watched it with closed captioning. Did not have my headphones connected whatsoever. So that was great. I mean, I think, look,
you just watched it as a silent film. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Silent film. And you know, I think the experience of this movie without the sound is going to be quite different from it with, right? But I got the gist of it. I enjoyed it. I think that it could be a lot more existential. I think a lot of the reviews I read about it were correct. Like, I think M. Night Shyamalan tries to do a little, like, it's
if it ended 10 minutes earlier, I think it would have been like very good, like much better.
Yeah, I don't mind the reveal so much. Like, I'm fine with it. It's like, sure, it's a deviation from the comic in a huge way, but my bigger issue was like how deliberate some of the filming was. Like, look, I came here, I know the premise of this show. I don't need you to like spend 5 whole minutes revealing to me that the kid's aged. Like, I'm like, no, you don't have to show me just a piece of his hand. I'm good. I know he's grown up. Like, just show me him already. But otherwise,
you're like when the magician is trying to like build up a reveal for a magic trick. You're like, just show me the rabbit.
Yes,
show me the whole thing.
Like, especially when it's something I already know. Surprise me in some other way. I think they're like, one of the characters was very surprising. I actually really enjoyed how that turned out. Is it okay to spoil? Is the Christy character, the young hot woman? Do
not spoil.
Yeah, I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm just gonna be like that. The way that character turned out was very cool for me.
There's a lot of things. I really enjoyed this movie. I do recommend listening to it with sound, but also. The best thing about it are the visuals, like the way he moves the camera, and certainly like
gorgeous.
That's interesting to watch this as a silent movie because it's still a good looking movie. But
I focus only on the visuals.
The sound design, the score, and everything I think kind of really adds to it. But this is a fun movie. I really enjoyed it. Like, I know a lot of people were hating on it, but I enjoyed a lot of aspects of this.
I mean, I did too, and I have rewatched it already, and I will be rewatching with sound when I can. But my actual recommendation, because since we've already talked about Old on this show before, my actual recommendation is Hellbound on Netflix. It's a Korean TV show. And there are a lot. I mean, it got a lot of very prominent placement a while ago. And
it's from the Train to Busan guy too, so that's interesting.
Yeah. So the CG and the effects in this are kind of strange. I wasn't super into that, but as is the case with a lot of good like Korean TV shows lately, this has great storyline, like great acting. It's got this building up this mythos that is very interesting, and it's got your favorite type of character, Dev, the struggling police person or the family man who's like just trying to make ends meet, that sort of thing. Which
was also in Train to Busan too. Like, those characters in Train to Busan were all those archetypes.
It was a mix, right? There was like one guy who's a finance guy in Train to Busan. Anyhow, if you're looking for something to watch after Squid Game that's a little more into the horror path and less into the like I don't know, Squid Game's kind of more sci-fi. I don't know, it's kind of horror too. It's just not K-drama. It's not your standard K-drama. Yeah.
Cool.
Hellbound was a good one. Yes. Go ahead.
That's cool. I've got a bunch of stuff, but since you brought up Hellbound, I just want to quickly shout out Dr. Brain on Apple TV Plus, which is it's a Korean like psychological thriller. I actually think you'd be into this one, Sherlyn, because it's by Kim Ji-woon.
I might have seen it already, Dr. Brain.
Dr. Brain. Well, it's like it just started airing a couple weeks ago, but by Kim Ji-woon, who's done some incredible films like what was it, The Good, the Bad, and the Weird. He also did I Saw the Devil, which is one of the most messed up movies I've ever seen, like just truly messed up. So like he is really into the like Korean extreme cinema stuff. And this Dr. Brain is a show about a guy who's basically absorbing people's minds, and the line between his reality and the brains he absorbs starts to deteriorate. So it is worth checking out. It's a lot of fun. I've been digging that.
It's on Apple TV Plus. So yeah, I haven't seen it yet, and it looks intriguing. The doctor show that's Korean that I thought I saw was another doctor show, but if you watch K-dramas, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway,
sure. Another thing I think you'd really enjoy, Sherlyn, and I think is good for anybody. Sometimes I just want a nice action movie. I want a nice, solid action movie with people I love. So I want to shout out Raging Fire, the last film by Benny Chan. It stars Donnie Yen. It stars
I love Donnie Yen.
It stars a lot of people I genuinely love. Yeah. Nicholas Tse,
who the Chinese name of this?
I don't know the Chinese name.
I'm looking it up.
I can, it's No Fo.
Okay. It's 2021, so it's a new one. Okay.
It's really new. And also Benny Chan, like, hey, this is the director. You've probably seen some of his movies. Like he's done he did Gen X Cops in 1999. He did New Police Story, but he passed away like all of a sudden. In the last year, actually before this movie was released. So this is his last project. Donnie Yen plays a cop, a very straight-laced cop who's trying to like, catch these bad guys. And Nicholas Tse plays a former cop who is a bad guy. And the script is the weakest part of this movie. Like a lot of it is just like very much Hong Kong action movies. Like we got to stop this drug deal, which is happening tonight with these gangs. We got to stop it. But the action is really good because it's Donnie Yen, and Donnie Yen did the choreography for this. So there's some really cool stuff here. There's a chase between a motorcycle and a minivan that feels like straight up a riff on the Mission Impossible 2 motorcycle head-to-head chase. There's so much cool stuff, good gunplay, good choreography, good fighting. Nicholas Tse is really fun in this too as the bad guy, because I didn't realize he became basically a food guy, like the Chinese equivalent of like a Food Network person, even though he's been a movie star and a pop singer and all sorts of stuff. I can imagine it does, but it's just funny, like he's back in brooding bad guy mode here. And he's always been somebody who's fun to see, but mainly I watch this for Donnie Yen because I love Donnie Yen so much. So this guy is never going to age. I hope he keeps working for as long as he can. Like he's doing good stuff. Raging Fire, it's available to rent now on Apple TV, everywhere, basically everywhere you can rent movies. If you like action movies, it's a blind buy to me. It's like $12 to buy it digitally. Just get it. It's really good. And really quickly, I also just wanted to shout out The Power of the Dog, which is a new film that just hit Netflix by Jane Campion. And she's a really interesting director. She most recently has been working on the Top of the Lake TV series. And this is sort of like a revisionist Western, or like a new wave Western. Benedict Cumberbatch plays this really like misogynistic, cruel man. Like this movie is an exploration of toxic masculinity. And this may be Benedict Cumberbatch's best role ever. So he plays this really cruel, awful guy who basically terrorizes everybody around him. And the entire movie is about basically how people respond to him. Also co-stars Jesse Plemons and Kirsten Dunst, who are really good actors I genuinely love. It's a beautiful film, but also tremendous performances. Like there aren't shootouts, there aren't any big action scenes. It is just like people talking to each other, but the drama of it I think is really compelling. So check out Power of the Dog. It's on Netflix now. And I think
RQ, I got the Chinese name of the Raging Fire show. It's called No Fo. So that's a Cantonese name. In Chinese it's Nu Huo. And also, I don't know if you guys say Nicholas Tse here. We say Nicholas Si or Si in Singapore.
I try to look up name pronunciations for everything, and all the YouTube people were like Nicholas Tse. I don't know.
his Chinese name is Xie Tingfeng, so I guess say is closer than Si, but I think in Singapore we just pronounce TSE Si or something. Yeah,
we never pronounce anything like Su. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very strange. As in for me, just because like the dual pronunciations that I've heard over time. Anyway, we can do the outro and then we can chat a little bit, I guess, right? Cool. Well, that's it for the episode this week, everyone. Thank you as always for listening. Our theme music is by game composer Dale North. Our outro music is by our very own Terrence O'Brien. This podcast is produced by Ben Elm. You can find Devindra online at
Devindra on Twitter, and I talk about movies and TV at the Filmcast at thefilmcast.com.
If you want to tweet me your best GIFs of 2021, you can send them to me on Twitter at Sherlyn Low. Email us your thoughts at podcast@engadget.com. Please leave us a review on iTunes because that'll really help. And subscribe on anything that gets podcasts, including Spotify.
Cool.
Okay, so chat, we are ready to talk to you. Do you have any questions? Do you want to talk about anything from Spotify Wrapped to new Snapdragon stuff to Theranos? But like Theranos is an ongoing story, so maybe let's keep it on Snapdragon. I did bank a couple of questions. One is from Sandip Makhal, who has been becoming a regular. Thank you for watching, Sandip. So while we were talking about Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, they asked, are you also going to talk about MediaTek 9000? So can you explain to me, the non-tech person in this conversation, what is MediaTek 9000 and how does it figure in?
MediaTek used to be always known as the bargain bin version of Snapdragon chips. Yeah. It's like the Dimensity stuff. Dimensity is kind of, I guess, their equivalent of the Snapdragon's the name, right? Because Qualcomm is the company name, whatever. And the MediaTek 9000, they have some Helios branding as well, I believe. Anyhow, the MediaTek 9000 is, for all intents and purposes, very similar in terms of placement on the chipset side of things. Now, I haven't actually really looked at the spec sheet very closely, so I don't know. I don't think they've done 4nm process design, but I believe they've got like similar processor clock speeds. They've got number of cores are about the same as Qualcomm's higher end chips, but yeah, it's MediaTek. MediaTek, honestly, their best business is the business of putting chips in everything but phones, right? So and laptops, right? So your TVs, your speakers, your smart clocks. That's where you will likely find a MediaTek chip because they're so cheap. They're easy for manufacturers to buy at scale, and they're fine. You don't need a hugely powerful processor.
Now, something to factor in here, though, is that Sandip is talking to us from India. So, I remember that there was the difference between, I think, what is it, Snapdragon and Exynos or something? So is it possible that MediaTek is more prevalent? Because Exynos chips were more prevalent in India, if I'm correct.
That's all about...
So is that kind of similar?
That's more about who chooses to put chips in what, right? Because Exynos chips were and Samsung, but Samsung was deciding whether certain regions got Exynos versions of S21s versus Snapdragon versions of the S21 and older versions of the its flagships. So I don't know necessarily that you would find MediaTek devices more prevalently in India specifically. I will say there's a big number of Qualcomm devices in India, made for India, and but they might be the 400 series or the 600 series phones in the things like the Motos or the Nokias. But also, India is pretty well served by the Asian phone makers like Xiaomi. There's a lot of Xiaomi fans in India, and Xiaomi uses Snapdragon chips. So I wouldn't say that MediaTek is more prevalent in India.
MediaTek has always been the cheap phones, right? And I do think those cheap phones have been super popular, and tablets. So those have definitely been super popular in India. So
yes, it's also possible to find a cheap phone in India that's a Qualcomm, like a Snapdragon device. It just may be more of a 675 chip in it than a 800 series.
Yeah. And so D-Man says in the chat, this is D-Man7895, one of our regulars, says, why do you think Apple is too lazy to support wireless standards, unlike Qualcomm? Like even the MediaTek chip did support Bluetooth 8.3.
5.3.
5.3. Yeah, excuse me, I
because those
misread that.
standards,
We're not even at 8 yet.
Yeah,
those
5.3, not
standards,
8.3. Sorry about that.
they suck. Like it's really hard to implement them. aptX is this thing that's been around for over a decade now on Bluetooth. You need to have a special aptX supporting headset and devices that kind of deal with that. Apple has been, I think they've pioneered using AAC, which is their like MPEG audio format to compress music and also make it sound good. And they've been working on that since iTunes launched. So I think Apple's was like, we have better compression. We don't even need to deal with the aptX stuff because aptX is also, I believe, an open standard. So it's a thing. Apple doesn't really play like that. They like to control their formats, and I think AAC has worked out well for them. I talked with I have an interview from several years ago from the guy who designed Bluetooth, and he thinks aptX and all these other additional things don't need to exist. He thinks Bluetooth, like on its own, can produce really good sounding audio. It's just people haven't really done the work to do that. I think Apple, at the very least, has done that work. So AAC audio wireless sounds good on Apple. It sounds good with the Power Beats, which what's the name of the overhead beats, which I always forget because I forget they even exist.
Oh, I don't know the overhead beats. I could tell you the overhead.
Well,
AirPods.
no, not the AirPods. Yeah, the overhead AirPods.
Oh, Max? Are they the Max?
Yeah, the AirPods Max. So
yeah,
even the AirPods Max don't have aptX. They have AAC. They don't support high-res audio, which is the thing a lot of people were complaining about because they started bringing lossless audio codecs to Apple Music. So you can't actually hear those on the most expensive headphones Apple offers. But it doesn't really matter because the wireless performance is good and they support the thing I think more people will really enjoy, which is spatial audio. And, rather than just like giving you more bits in your resolution, that kind of changes the way you listen to music. So I think Apple's betting more on that. They're betting on like your music sounding a little more immersive rather than you getting more bits your ears probably won't hear, basically.
Quick shout out to Ben's already shouted out one of our regulars, D-Man. I wanted to shout out that Mark Dell is here this time. Also, Jonathan Anderson, Brian Mitchell, both getting to be regulars, as well as Drew Karmokar, and Armando Fernandez. And you also said Sandeep asked the question. I do want to say Brian Mitchell asked, when looking at Snapdragon processors, do the bigger numbers in their names always mean that they're better? Up until this rebrand that was announced this week, yes, that was the way, right? The 400 series is their entry-level series. The 600 to 700 are the mid-range, and then the 800 are their highest end premium mobile processors. So you look at the first number when they were 100 series, and then now I guess you just look at what the one number before the word gen.
The one number, and the gen will tell you in the future
how new it is.
How new it is, yeah.
That was Brian Mitchell's question. And then Drew Karmokar says, Google could be a major player in India if they get more competitive and started launching their newer devices here. Yeah, specifically the A series. I feel like with the 5A, it was only in the US and Japan. And every time there's a Pixel phone launch, I get people tweeting me, when is it coming to India? When is it coming to India? I feel like Google needs to really start paying attention a bit more to India.
Definitely. Google does, the entire tech world needs to. Yeah.
Yeah. So Garrison R, this is totally in another direction, but Garrison R just says, Sherlyn, fellow Singaporean here. Hello.
Hi. I'm sorry I keep yawning. I'm still in West Coast time.
We're good. We can
How
probably
long did you spend out there?
Mm-hmm.
On the West Coast?
A week. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that was just long enough to get
just
onto
adapt.
the time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sorry, did Garrison R say anything else?
No. This was also from a while ago. So I hope Garrison R is still watching. So, I
see it. Yeah.
Yes.
Looks
okay.
Like
Garrison R just repeated it. Okay. So,
I wonder what R stands for. I'm trying to think. What last name in Singapore do we have? Let's try it with R. I'm not gonna guess. I'm not gonna out your identity. Go ahead, Ben. I'm sorry.
So I think the last question, and this is really just a bit of quick speculation because we've talked about this before, but when do you think the chip shortage is going to end? This is another question by Drew Karmokar.
I mean, basically no end in sight from what everybody is saying. Like all the car makers are like, 2023, maybe. Like it is a cascading problem that will basically trickle down for years to come, and
it's like the bucket brigade problem, right? Mm-hmm. Like one hand needs to hand off to the other hand,
Yep.
and there is a problem there. So it's going to take
There are a lot of problems.
to...
Like there was increased demand, there was lowered production for a lot of these chips. People started buying more cars. People started buying more computers. These companies can't produce all this stuff. So that it's kind of what I'm trying to encapsulate in this end of year piece. But basically, expect this stuff to last with us for several more years. Your devices will cost more. You're going to pay more for a car. Basically, if you're buying a new car anytime soon, it'll be harder for you to get a PlayStation 5. It's already hard. So that's why like a lot of these companies haven't been able to pump out enough stuff. It's a problem, but go ahead, Trill. What's up?
My favorite thing is how this has become a meme. I don't know if you've seen it, but like the people are like, "Sorry, I was late. There was a global chip supply shortage," or like, shortage. Yep. Or like, I'm sorry I forgot to flush the toilet. There's a global chip supply shortage. That's my favorite.
It is kind of the heart of everything. Like a meme is truth.
We have to have a serious conversation about our relationship. There's a global chip supply shortage.
Yep, exactly.
It's not me, it's you and the global chip supply shortage.
The meme reflects the fact that our lives entirely revolve around this global chip supply. And if something happens, we literally go back in time. Like people are building new factories to build old chips, like old 14 nanometer plus chips, because that's what cars use, so
and that's when things like MediaTek come in handy, right? Because MediaTek's still making their chips, so
still making their chips. People, I see Garrison R says toilets will have chips soon. My toilet has a chip.
That's the thing. Like the reason that even if you don't think that you are touched by this chip shortage, you are touched by this chip shortage is because there is so much Internet of Things, so much other like
you're going to pay more for groceries. You're paying more for groceries because it's harder to ship things, like the logistics of shipping things, the logistics of building things, like everything is affected.
Okay, so I think we are about done. Thank you everybody for watching yet again. This stream
shout
comes
out to
you.
Arrow Dimmons and Rock City, just two names that I just saw, and Tanmay Shirseth. Sorry.
Hello.
This stream comes to you via our video team, which is led by Kyle Mock with Julio Barrientos and Luke Brooks, but it's powered by everyone in the chat. Again, the chat is what makes all of this fun. It makes it feel like a live show where we're actually talking to people. It's nice to get to know the people who actually watch and listen to this show. If you are enjoying all of this, please rate us on iTunes. If you watched the live stream, just download the show. That helps
give us a
with
thumbs
download
up.
numbers. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Rate us 5 stars on iTunes, because seriously, like, algorithms control the world more than you think, just like chips control the world more than you think. And we'll see you next week.
See you, folks.